Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. It's the last video of the week. We're going to do a creator request as we usually do, and that's where usually a smaller band will get in contact with me and ask me to check out their music. And I always love doing this. We have found some phenomenal stuff through this creator request. Today's comes at us from VELJA. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He says, we are a progressive metal band. Been following your channel for a while, watched your reviews, and I want to let you know my band has released a new single. Briefly about us, dissonances mixed with melodic elements, uneven time signatures, extreme female vocals, thoughtful lyrics. We'll be glad for any reaction from you. Have a nice day. I plan to have a nice day. Thank you for that. So we're going to check out VELJA. The song is called A Suite for an Ugly Trombone. And yeah, let's dive into this. Okay. Got a little bit of a diegetic element here. I like the rising intensity that's tying into... Yeah, this is a nice intro. Ugh. And I like that put against that electronic quick idea in the background. It's working very well. Are we at 9.4 right now? Well, now we're in 4.4. I think that last section was a 9 though. That was interesting. At 13.8? Wow! And I like how they're working with these odd time signatures and finding ways to make them flow. Tons of groove. Yeah. Ton of variety and tempo as well. Yes, the halftime plus the tempo shift right there. Okay, so this is actually bouncing between 7 and 9, which lines up with 4.4. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, tear it up, bassist. Yeah, that extended drum fill there at the end, or I guess just a drum pattern. Yeah, that song is tasty in every aspect. Yeah, I absolutely loved and once again, just such really great stuff coming out of Creator Request. I always love listening to these smaller bands. They're doing some really awesome things. There's so many cool things going on here. I want to touch on some of this. Uh, Everybody's just doing a phenomenal job. The drummer just keeping the groove and the flow in some of these odd time signatures. We are bouncing between 7, 9, 13, 4, and all of it sort of just flows together. There aren't any sharp shifts where I'm like, okay, we're feeling a lurching here. We definitely changed. It's more of subtle changes that tend to flow nicely. And I'm not sure if that's due to the way that the song is structured. Maybe it's the order of these time signatures. Maybe there is some foreshadowing. Maybe there's some metric modulation going on that helps foreshadow an upcoming change. We saw that with the tempo shift and the halftime feel there close to the end, where the drummer did a fill that sort of did a retardando into this feeling, so it naturally moved into it. I'm not sure how often that happened, or like I said, if it's just the way that things flow, just the order of the time signatures, not necessarily foreshadowing, but just things are lining up better. It could be also that, like the 7 against 9 creates a 4-4 feel because 7 plus 9 is 16, 16 is divisible by 4. And I'm curious, if I went back and listened to that section, I would be checking out where our heartbeat is, where our defining beat, the one that helps us kind of create landmarks. Usually it's in a snare. Sometimes when we get into crazy modulation, it'll be in a cymbal, and kind of check out if that's doing downbeats and then offbeats when we hit the 9, because that's actually going to be laying down the 4-4 feel, which makes the 7 versus 9 feel natural, even though it's two odd time signatures, two odd groupings. Because I do think that the guitars were starting on beat 1 of each bar, whether it's the 7 or the 9, they were starting the idea over. It's just the 9 was the 7 with an extra 2/8 notes on it. So it was just an extension of the same riff. And that downbeat brings it back. So it's going to feel disjointed in the guitar, but I think in the drums and sections like that, it's actually going to feel a little smoother because they're not emphasizing the 1-bar phrases. They're actually looking at it as a larger, and it's a 16-beat phrase, which is even, versus 7 and 9, which are both odd. So I think that might be happening, and like I said, if I were to listen to it again, that's something I'd be paying attention to. So yeah, the drummer's putting in a lot of work, I think, that to keep the song cohesive and to keep it feeling together rather than falling apart. The bassist is just phenomenal. There's so many interesting groovy ideas going on that help keep the rhythmic aspects just real tight and keeping this groove going. Then there's a few moments like that solo section that the bassist just gets to show off, and yeah, it gets funky, and I'm here for it. The guitarists, once again, a lot of what's going on in the more groovier sections is just everybody honing in on this highly syncopated rhythmic structure. So they're holding down the rhythmic ideas as well in some of these sections, but then we also get to hear some really nice melodies. That solo was nice. Actually, I don't think it was a solo. I think it was the lead into the final section, the tapping bit, though. Lots of skill there. I do also enjoy what's going on in the background. They utilize synth work to augment it. And I know that's becoming popular. It's kind of trendy these days to make a heavy song and then put some synth stuff in the background, but I really enjoy what they're doing and how they're utilizing it here, rather than just utilizing it for a foundational sound or putting virtual strings behind their music or something. I think that they're using it to augment what's already going on. For instance, that opening constant, like 16th note warbling, constant attack kind of sound that was going on behind that highly rhythmic playing in the band, I thought that contrast was really nice. It accents both of those and also plays into this heavily rhythmic concept that they're already playing within. So I think they have a good mind for bringing in electronic elements without kind of being cliche about it. They're putting their own spin on it, even if I don't think it's necessarily brand new things. I think once you get too experimental with it, you start moving into experimental and avant-garde kind of music, and they definitely want to do something a little bit more popular. I would say this is kind of genty in several sections, but yeah, so they're experimenting and putting their own spin on the electronic aspect without really pushing the boundaries of what's going on. They're keeping it, quite palatable, which is fine. And then the singer, I think both styles of her vocal delivery is great for what's going on in the band. Her cleans are clean. They have beauty to them. They have um, a nice crispness that I think works well in the chorusy sections that she utilizes it, and it works well in contrast with the growls that she has. It gives her a high versus a low feeling that we've seen in a couple of vocalists, like the vocalist from Vinnersea and the vocalist from Ginger. It's a really nice duality. Oh, Rolo Tomasi is another one. It's a really nice. Oh no, she doesn't do growls though, does she? Rolo Tomasi has like a high scream and then a clean. They're kind of both in the same range. Yeah, so more like Vintersea and Ginger, where you get the growl versus the higher range cleans, and it's just a really nice contrast between both texturally and range. So yeah, like everybody in the band is extremely talented. I really enjoy listening to all of them perform. But the other thing is also the music itself, what's being played. And I've kind of touched on this, talking about all the cool things that these guys are already doing, but the meter shifts, the tempo shifts, there is a lot of structural aspects of the song being shifted constantly. It almost took all of my mental energy to keep up with what they were doing, how fast they were changing things, keeping up the time signature changes, keeping up with the tempo changes. And I like how it's not all rigid. We were doing this, and now that the bar's over, now we're in this mode. There are these nice transitions between these ideas. The tempo changes have retardandos. The metric ideas have foreshadowing in at least one of the instruments to showcase this new idea that's coming up, or maybe they're utilizing a riff they already had and now they're extending it, like with the 7 versus 9, where we come into this section with the 7 and we hear it. When the next bar starts, we hear the 7 again, but it's extended a little bit, and that's our 9. And there's this relationship between both the 7 and the 9 meter because they're utilizing the same riff in both of those. So there's a lot of ideas here that help the variety of tempo and meter shifts feel more natural and feel more inclusive rather than segmented parts, which is something that I personally enjoy. I've talked about it in the past. I don't mind harsh transitions every once in a while. I think they work well artistically. They provide a contrast to other types of transitions. But usually I like my music to flow. This would be the opposite of something like Between the Buried and Me's earlier work, where it was one section, then the next section, then the next section. There wasn't really much that tied them together. There wasn't this flow between sections. The transitions were very harsh. And this song just flowed from one section to the next, even though there was a ton of variety in the speed of playing and how many beats were in each bar. And it gave it this palatable technicality, I think is a good way to phrase that, where if you really dig into what's going on, you can see that there's a lot of technical aspects going into this, but if you're just listening to it casually, maybe you don't have an ear for time signature changes, you can still jam along with it from start to finish, and it doesn't feel alienating or difficult to get into if you're not, a music head. Not a music head. That's a I don't know what to call it. Somebody who's inclined to break down music, a music analyzer, almost like a musical critic, someone who's critical about music. I don't know. I'm running this too long. Um, so yeah, I really like how they find that balance there where I can dive into it and be like, oh, they're doing this, they're doing this, they're doing this. And then someone else can just be like, yeah, I can jam along with this. I love it, start to finish. So, yeah, walking that line is not always easy. It's very, very simple to either make it too simple or too difficult, and alienating one side or the other. And these guys walk a very fine line doing that. Um, Now, structure, I wish I could talk more about, but I didn't really pick up on one. Um, I think there was a chorus possibly, but I don't think that the lyrics lined up. And if I'm trying to pay attention to, if I try to break the song up by time signature, there really isn't much of a pattern there either. There is a return to 4/4 after some complicated ideas, and we kind of get this contrast between highly rhythmic staccato ideas versus more melodic legato ideas, and we kind of bounce back and forth between those. But I'm not sure it really breaks it up into a verse, chorus, verse, chorus. I'm not sure there's enough ideas being repeated to say that. So I'm gonna veer on the side that this is a bit more linear, at least on a first listen. Like I said, I was quite enamored with a lot of the time signature and meter changes that I really wasn't, to be honest, I really wasn't paying that much attention to the structure. I was just jamming with it and really digging into some of these technical changes that they were implementing. So, yeah, first time listen, I'm going to say that this is a bit linear. If not, it's quasi linear with something that would be closer to like an A, B, C, D, B. And there is that repetition in there in the end, but it's the looping nature or any repetition is going to be a bit obfuscated by more of a linear structure to it. Now, the lyrics are interesting. Um, the email said that they have some thoughtful lyrics, and I think that they are on the right track here. There definitely seems to be a metaphor, a strong metaphor across the entire song. There, of course, on the surface is this person who puts on makeup and goes out to be laughed at, an entertainer of sorts. This is presented in the music video as well. But it also kind of has a supernatural edge. There's two occurrences here where it talks about changing under the moonlight. So they're utilizing both the duality of possible a werewolf situation, while also the duality of the person and the clown, the entertainer. You put on your mask, your makeup, and you go entertain, but you're a different person when you're done. They're utilizing both of these dualities to tell a story about somebody who does not enjoy being the clown, being the entertainer, possibly, and they kind of wish that they could take the mask off. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting here, but I think it's lost a little bit. Having the metaphor lined up with the metaphor, the wolf and the clown, I think is it's an interesting choice, and maybe it's just gone over my head, but I think it gets a little too convoluted. Because on the surface read, at least, it reads like someone who turns into a wolf and then puts clown makeup on and goes into entertaining people. And thinking of a werewolf putting clown makeup on after transforming into the wolf kind of gives me a chuckle. But like I said, it might just be going over my head. I might be reading into it too much. But I think that the metaphor of presenting a version of yourself who is not you and wishing that you could remove that mask and be yourself, I think that's really good. I think that they're diving into that, and that's a good topic to talk about. But the metaphor, I think, falls apart just a hair. Although most of these comments I'm noticing are not in English, so I wonder if it could also be a language thing. Yeah, looking at some of these names of people who worked in the production of it, um, yeah, I'm gonna wager that they're not an English group. So, or an American group, I suppose. So maybe there's a language thing. I don't know. It could have just been a very ambitious lyrical theme to go on. And sometimes when you get over ambitious, you bite off more than you can chew, and it falls apart a little bit. But like I said, I really enjoy what they're aiming for, and I think that it does shine through, even though the metaphor, the dual metaphor idea, kind of clashes a little bit. Oh, one quick thing, because I did talk about the music video lining up with the song. I absolutely enjoy the opening bit. Um, because we have this old-timey radio kind of feel, and I don't know if this is in the full song, the studio song, or if it was made for the music video, because it does line up with what's going on in the video itself. But I love the production on this, how we have these old-timey kind of circusy themes going on, and it sounds like we're shifting an old radio, an FM radio, AM radio, and tuning between these channels, and we get that little the fuzz while we change, and they're doing the panning side to side. And I think that's a really interesting way to bring in the thematic element of the entertainer, especially possibly the clown, the person who puts on the mask to be laughed at, already being injected into the listener's mind from the start. But what's even cooler, I mentioned this at the beginning, is that it's diegetic. This sound is coming from a radio on the screen, and as the sound is channel surfing, she's turning the dial as well. And that's what diegetic is. It's when the music exists in the multimedia format. So if, like in a film, if somebody's listening to music on headphones and then the headphones come off and the music becomes muted, or the music goes away, that's diegetic. The music is existing within the world of the film. And I really like how they introduced that here. Like I said, I don't know if that's in the full studio version, the one I would find on the CD, but I think it works well for establishing the themes and ideas that we're going to be exploring, or at least the atmosphere of what we're going to be exploring in the song. And I like how they brought it into the music video as well, rather than it just being, extra intro music. So yeah, I absolutely enjoyed this. I'm going to have to dig more into this. It hit a lot of notes that I enjoy about heavier music. This is where you guys come in, though. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you thought of this track. VELJA, a suite for an ugly trombone. That is an interesting name. And a suite is, there's a lot of ideas in here. So I suppose it could fall under the guise of a suite on a much more compact level. Ugly Trombone. That's an interesting title. I didn't really think too much about it when I introduced the song, but knowing what the song's about and sort of the atmosphere and imagery that they're using within it, yeah, that's I would have loved to hear a trombone in here too, though. That would have been nice. Anyways, this is where you guys come in. Hit me up with your thoughts. If you enjoyed this or not. Anything that you would like to expand upon that maybe I talked about, or something that you noticed that I didn't, go ahead and hit me up with those comments down below. Above the comment section, in the description box, you can find a link for Linktree. Takes you to this place right here. Has everything related to the channel. You can support the channel through Patreon, which gives you the access to vote on future themes and songs. You can follow me on Twitter, join the Discord community, buy some merch, check out what I've been listening to, check out the music I've been making. It's all there and more above the description box. If you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. That wraps it up for this week. There should be a blocked live stream video coming out this weekend with a link to Odyssey if you want to check out the next live stream. The next live stream I'm releasing, I think it was like November 2nd's live stream. So it's an older one, but it's the next one chronologically in that I've released to the public. And then critics, people on Patreon at the highest tier, there's no live stream this weekend. I know there's supposed to be. Things came up. Instead, they're going to be pushed to the 20th and 27th rather than the 13th and 20th. So next Sunday and the Sunday after, rather than the Sunday in 2 days. That's a bit, the 20th and the 27th. I'm confusing myself. I'm giving exact dates. Otherwise, Monday, we'll be back with vocal harmonies. It's going to be a fun week, I think, checking out songs with 2 or more vocal harmonies that are predominantly showcased in the song. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping we can hear some really interesting choral stuff, or 3 or 4 plus vocalists, because 2 vocalists, it's not super common, but it's not uncommon. Oh man, I forgot to put a stipulation for that. I'm kind of hoping to have 2 different vocalists in these harmonies, because you can make your own backing tracks, you make your own harmonizing tracks, harmonize with yourself. That's not necessarily something I'm looking forward to next week, but I don't think I made that clarification, so we might get some of that. Anyways, I'm rambling. Let's finish this up. Be back next week, Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC, as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.